All right, I'll say good day. This transmission has been titled Matters of the Heart in honor of your February month, your Valentine holiday. And since we will be talking about matters of the heart, let us get to the heart of the matter. First of all, the physicalness. Your heart, as you know, beats to pump your blood through your veins and arteries around your body, circulating oxygen to your systems so they may absorb it and thrive and function properly. Let's draw an analogy between that system, the circulatory system of your body, and the circulatory system of the earth. You know that deep within your planet, you have a circulatory system of molten metal. As this molten metal moves around underneath the ground of your world, this is what generates the electromagnetic field of your planet. Likewise, your blood, your body contains a certain amount of iron. And the idea is that as it moves around your body, similarly, it also is to some degree responsible for amplifying and magnifying and producing the electromagnetic field that extends from your body. As you allow yourself more clarity, more refinement in your physical form, as you remove toxins from your system that may interfere with this process of your blood circulation, this electromagnetic field becomes more and more refined and extends farther and farther from your body. The strongest component of it is the heartbeat itself, or when the blood arrives in the heart, containing all of that iron. And with every heartbeat, you send out an electromagnetic bubble that expands from your body, all of you, and immerse each other in these electromagnetic connective bubbles. So that one heart literally talks to all the others, and you are immersed in the electromagnetic bubbles of all the other hearts. This allows for amplification of the communication non-verbally between you, allows for greater consistency and refinement and precision in your telepathic contacts with one another, which again is why we say telepathy instead of telepathy, because the empathy underscores the emotional component of the heart, the emotional intelligence of the heart that communicates with every beat to every other heart on the planet. You are living, expanding bubbles of electromagnetic energy that expand and issue from the heart with every single beat, in constant connection and communication with one another. Now, as you refine your physical form, as you ascend, as you accelerate your vibration, uplift your frequency, these heartbeats become even more powerful. The electromagnetic or auric field around your body becomes highly sensitive to higher frequency energies from other dimensions, including the spirit realm. And so again, as your frequency rises, not only do you have better connections among yourselves physically on the planet, You have much stronger ability to connect and receive information from the spirit realm as well. So it is with the opening of the heart, the acceleration of your vibration, the upliftment of your frequency, that you will not only connect with all physical beings on your planet, not just humans, but all physical beings, but also connect with the spirit realm more consciously and have more awareness of their communications to you that come through electromagnetic energy. The electromagnetic field of your planet that you are immersed in, again, allows you to align with it by accelerating your frequency, creating the entire planet in that sense to be a beacon, to be a receiver of spirit realm energy, higher dimensional energies, extraterrestrial energies that operate on higher frequencies. So when you are all aligned in that sense in the future, you will find that you will open up gateways, lines of communication to dimensions you had no idea existed. You will be able to receive information from many different levels of reality. And this will become the norm as we experience it on our world. We commune with spirits and extra-dimensional beings every day, all the time. It is part of our natural reality to know that this information exists, can be received and tapped into at any given moment when you're operating on that frequency from the highest levels of the heart. So you will eventually get used to the idea of walking through a dreamlike world, just as we do, where the heart really is what gives you the opportunity to know how much there is you are not seeing now, not experiencing now. You're only experiencing a relatively thin slice of reality, even of your own reality. But when you open your heart, all those gateways, all those doorways, all those windows will begin to open as well, and you will see how much richer your reality truly is. Now, with regard to energetic communication with your own higher mind, the heart is absolutely crucial in this process. Because the higher mind, again, speaks in the language of energy, sends energy of certain frequencies to you, which your physical mind translates into the sensation of passion. But the reason it does this is because the heart is specifically tuned to the vibration of the higher mind in its natural state. Therefore, the reason that your physical body translates the messages, the communications from your higher mind, as the sensation of passion, excitement, curiosity, attraction, and unconditional love, is because the heart is what's actually directly receiving the core communication from the higher mind and filling your body with that vibration. Now, of course, it can be filtered through the belief systems of the physical mind that can allow it not necessarily to be experienced in its pure form, its pure unconditional loving form. And that is why it is so important to get a hold of your belief systems, to consciously be aware of them. Let go of the fear-based ones that prevent you from experiencing the pure core vibration transmission from your higher mind that is bounced back to the physical mind by the heart with every beat as a guiding mechanism to say, align with this, align with this, align with this. This is your truth. This is your truth. This is your truth. So the idea is that you're constantly being given an opportunity to let go and zero back to your natural state with literally every beat of your heart reflecting to you like a drum the vibration, the core vibration of your higher mind in its natural state. And it gives you the opportunity to guide yourself in letting those negative beliefs go so that your physical mind can also align and be transparent to those vibrations that are bouncing from the heart into the physical mind that are representative of the core communication of the higher mind. And that way you can move forward in physical reality, in love, in passion. This is why it translates as passion, because it is filtering through or bouncing back from the heart to your physical mind that only understands that vibration really when it aligns with it as the sensation of passion, excitement, curiosity, attraction, and love. So take the cue not only from the higher mind, but from what the heartbeat, every heartbeat is reflecting to you. That passion, that curiosity, that excitement, that freedom, that love is truly your core frequency, your natural state. And move forward, choose to move forward in that way. And you will be at one, at peace, in total freedom and joy, in love, by listening to your heart, which has its own mind, in a sense, connecting to the higher mind, and between the two, with the physical mind in the center, between those two, you can be guided to remember your true self and live a life of pure love, joy, creativity, and harmony by being the true individuals that you each are, that you were created to be. That is your path in life. In this month that you honor the idea of love and the heart, in February and your Valentine's Day, and reach out also to all the different peoples and all the differences on your world in a loving way, to incorporate and embrace everyone in their own truth and free them from their own limitations by being the living examples of someone living their truth, living from their heart and head in unison, in harmony and higher mind. Do so not only in this month, but in every month and in every year. And you will change your frequencies and navigate yourselves to the versions of Earth that already coexist, that are far more representative of the heart of love and the experience of ecstasy and joy. So, we thank you for allowing us to share this heartfelt message with you. And in return, we ask, in what way now may we be of service to you? You may begin, if you wish, with your questions and comments and dialogues.
Good morning, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
How are you today?
Perfect, as in every day. And you?
I am well. I'm very excited. I'm all the way from Australia. It's very early here.
Oh, I'm all the way from Esasani.
So exciting. I have a couple of questions for you,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind.
I do not mind.
I want to talk to you about the timeline splitting. I know that we're in the process of them eventually crystallizing and not being able to see other people in our own, our own reality that do not vibrate with our frequency.
Yes.
I want to talk about personal relationships like our family and friends. Do those people who, if they're not on the same frequency and the same timeline as you, do they completely disappear, or do we get a different version of them?
It can be either.
Okay.
It depends on what their path is and what they're choosing in multiple realities. Sometimes they simply have a path that doesn't necessarily require them to have a version in the new reality you may have shifted to, and therefore you may never see them again. Sometimes they may have a version and you will interact with that version that is more compatible with the new reality. It just depends on their particular path.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Another one, I know because I've been watching lots of your transmissions from all over the years. When we go to sleep, I'm aware that we wake up in spirit. I want to know what your take is when we're asleep in our form, what we're experiencing when we have what we call nightmares here.
Generally, although there can be many reasons, generally what you are doing is processing the negative beliefs and fear-based beliefs within your physical mind to make yourself aware, in a sense, on a safer level, that you have these beliefs, so that when you wake up in physical reality, you can explore them and understand what they symbolized, what they mean to you, and it gives you a clue as to what it is to investigate within yourself about any fear-based or negative beliefs you may still be unconsciously holding on to.
Okay, cool. So we're not witnessing some negative timelines or anything?
Oh, you may be. It depends upon the dream. But again, for the most part, even if that's the case, it's still showing you a connection you may be creating to those things, so that you can decide for yourselves whether to use them in a valuable way, learn from them in a valuable way, or process them in a way that is valuable to you here and now.
Okay, cool. Is there any guidance that you and your civilization may have when it comes to releasing those, I guess, subconscious beliefs, I guess?
Well, as we have said, yes, many, many times, we've given you the techniques of asking yourself the question, what does this mean to me? Why would I choose to believe this is true for myself or about myself in this circumstance or situation. Just dig down deeply and be willing to investigate whether you're holding on to something that doesn't serve you, and be willing to hear the answers and ask yourself, if I did move forward in the way that I prefer to, what am I afraid might happen? That will usually reveal the negative belief or fear-based belief to you that you can then work with.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This one's probably going to be a little bit odd. I've been pondering it for a while.
All right.
As the human species, when we're thinking about, obviously, your civilization and other species as a whole, just in general,
Yes.
do you guys do you feel that or see that? Is that kind of like one of the start of like the window of open contact?
It can be, but again, and again, as every individual is different, if there is a need for someone to be aware of it, they will be aware of it. If there isn't, they won't. But it will still serve the purpose of allowing you to experience a connection.
Yeah, cool. I've been having a couple of experiences alongside one of my really close friends. There's moments throughout our day where randomly on our right side of our eyesight, even though we're awake, we kind of get this blurred vision, and we can see what I would describe as like white or blue energy.
Yes.
Kind of looks like when you see heat coming off a hot surface, like that aura.
Yes, we understand.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that may be?
Well, yes. First of all, realize you're surrounded by different dimensions of energy constantly. You may not be aware of them typically. But when you start to explore and expand your consciousness, you also change the sensitivity of your senses. And therefore, your senses can begin to perceive things quite often first out of the corner of your eye, so it's not too much of a shock until you get used to it, and can bring it into focus right before you. But it's very typical that as you expand your consciousness, you can see what was heretofore invisible and make it visible to you, and get used to the idea that there's more going on around you than you thought.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have today. Thank you so much for your time.
It is our passion and our pleasure. We thank you as well.
Thank you so much. Love to you guys. See you.
Good day.
Good day.
Hi, everybody. This is Jay from Souk, Vancouver Island. I was hoping that you could give us a handful of words that, in your opinion, we could redefine as a collective and on an individual level as well. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and good day, and thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. As we have said, doubt is not a lack of trust. It's a trust, a 100% trust in something you don't prefer. So you're always trusting. There's no such thing as a lack of trust. There is, however, a trust in lack. So that's a reversal paradoxical definition that will allow you to always know you don't have to learn to trust. You just have to decide what it is you're trusting in. Depression is simply the negative perspective and definition of compression, which is a natural state when where you know you cannot find the answers you seek outside, you go within. You collapse within into a state where you investigate and examine yourself and come out redefining yourself as a new person. If you look at it as a natural state of compression, specifically for that purpose of finding out how to let go of beliefs that don't serve you and emerging as a truly new person, then you will not experience that sensation as depression, which is the negative side, thinking that something must be wrong with you just because you may feel like you're withdrawing from society for a moment. It's a natural thing to do when you need to go internal within yourself and find the answers that you seek. A walk-in is not a different soul coming into the same body and another soul leaving to make room for it. You are filled up with yourself. There's no room for anything else to be there. And if you decide to leave, nothing else really comes in the way that you mean it with respect to the concept of a walk-in. There are other things that can happen that we will address another time, But a walk-in is simply a shift in vibrational resonance and ascension of the frequency of your own soul to another level that then demands a different expression of personality to come through to represent that shift in the vibration to a higher level of your soul. So it's the same soul expressing itself through a new personality, but it is the same being that was there before, just expressing itself on a different level. That's a walk-in. Ascension is simply the process, especially by following your passion or anything you love to do, or being in love, where you raise your frequency to another level that gives you a chance to receive higher frequency information and experiences and connections from higher dimensional realms. Now, ascension is not just something that is going to happen at a particular moment. You're always ascending if you're following your passion, if you're expanding your consciousness, if you're exploring ideas of spiritual reality. Ascension is an ongoing process of raising your frequency. You can lower it as well by the choices that you make, but that can still be part of ascension, because ascension can be the idea of going up and down and up and down and up and down in a straight line, or in a more positive way, you can understand that if you learn the lessons from the times you go down in vibration, that then when you learn those lessons, you will go up to a higher level the next time. So going up and down is a constant rising overall, even though you may go up and down in that process. But ascension, on its most basic term, is simply the raising of your frequency from one level to another.
Hello.
And good day.
Good day to you, Bashar. Thank you for seeing me.
It is our passion and our pleasure to do so. Thank you for the co-creation. What would you like to discuss?
So my first question then. Last time we spoke, you advised me to ask myself what am I afraid of would happen if I were to truly be myself and to truly let go.
Yes.
The answer I received was that I am afraid that all the pieces of me would fall apart and be lost, that I'm identifying so strongly with my labels.
Well, all right. But if you understand the whole concept from a holistic perspective of being yourself, why would you lose anything that was actually relevant to actually being yourself? Anything that would drop away would be those things that are no longer relevant for who you are. So you may have been afraid to lose the familiarity, thinking that you would wind up not knowing who you were, but that's contradictory to the very definition of being your true self, which would open up your awareness to the point where you would know exactly who you are.
Do you have any advice for those of us that feel so strongly attached to these things that we think we are on that journey?
Well, continue your process of examining who you actually are compared to who you think you are, and allow yourself the time and the space to go through that process. You don't have to rush this. You can take your time, the whole point of your life anyway. And so explore as you wish, but as we often suggest and encourage you to do, follow the formula, because it contains all the things and tools necessary to reflect back to you whatever it is you need to look at, whatever it is you need to process, whatever it is you need to let go of, to gradually or quickly become more and more of who you are. So there's no hurry up about this. You're not racing against time or anything. You're an eternal, immortal, in that sense, being, indestructible. What's your hurry?
Very true. The second question, I guess, then would be asking for advice on working on not judging, not just with people, but in situations. I know that I have followed that rule of everything, no matter what it is to my benefit. But is there advice in letting go of like the judgments of people, places, and things as good or bad?
All right. Well, you have just actually given yourself the answer, but you have maintained the contradiction within it for some reason of your own, which is a belief unto itself. You've actually said, I know that everything can be used to my benefit. If you truly know that, what would there be to judge? Judgment wouldn't be an option. It wouldn't make sense. So because you are still judging, even while you say you know you can use everything to your benefit, clearly you don't fully understand or believe that concept yet.
Yes. You're right.
I know.
Is there any advice on deepening of that understanding?
Yes. Stop asking for outside advice and just know that you understand more than you think if you would only act on it fully.
Yes.
You're worthy. You are worthy or you wouldn't exist. So you're capable of allowing yourself to understand these concepts and practicing these concepts until you fully ingrain them within who you are. So when you hear yourself, learn to say the thing you say you believe, but learn to pay attention to whether you actually believe it in your actions and responses and emotions. And if you recognize that there's a contradiction there, work on that and find out where the contradiction is coming from, because it can only be coming from another negative belief that you don't quite have the worthiness to truly buy into and believe what you say you know would serve you. So explore that.
Thank you. So we've been taught in our schools that, we have such diversity here on Earth
Yes.
within the human race alone.
Yes, it's beautiful.
We were taught that the reason that in the human race specifically, why there are so many differences, because at the beginning we started migrating and then we adapted to the climate. And this
Yes.
always seemed a little unsatisfactory to me. Is
Well,
there more
to
to it?
some degree that is true. You have different kinds of genetics in you. You're all hybridized from different kinds of genetics throughout the galaxy. But the idea is that when you move into different climates, the climates can trigger some of those deep genetic differences that exist within you so that you will adapt to the different climates because of the genetics that exist within all of you that are from different places. And therefore the climate, it may be the idea of the trigger, but the genetics within you come from many different places and among the stars. And that's why that happens to the degree that it does on your planet. Other planets may experience this to some degree, but not so many as deeply. You are an extremely hybridized civilization.
Wow.
For example,
Yes.
on my own world. Now, we don't really have the differences in climate around the planet that you do. We're mostly temperate and mild, but there are some differences here and there between the idea of a north and south and so on and so forth. You might see a slight, very slight, if you know what to look for, slight variation in some of the beings on my planet that constantly live in a slightly different climate. But it's not quite so apparent as it is on your planet because we don't have quite the same kind of mix of genetics being engineered as a race as we were that you do by receiving different genetics from different extraterrestrial beings at different times for different purposes, plus, of course, the panspermia idea of originally receiving genetic material on your planet from different places in the universe that gave the soup, so to speak, the mix of genetic material on your planet already much more differentiated than on a lot of other planets. It just depends on your location as to what arrives on your planet that begins the process of how much genetic variation you can actually experience. Plus then the introduction of different extraterrestrial genetics through encounters and different kinds of experiences can also add to the mix. So you have a greater variety on your planet of genetic material than we do. And thus the differences that climate can affect are much greater and of a greater range than you would experience on our planet. But there are many differences on other planets as well.
That's very interesting. So for the next question, it's actually about channeling.
Yes.
I found that while channeling, I have a lot of experiences where it seems like there's multiple entities trying to speak at the same time.
You may be aware of the fact that there are multiple entities you're connecting to. It's not that they're trying to speak at the same time. It's just that you're aware that they're there and have something to say. That's more coming from your side than the idea that they're trying to speak at the same time. On that level, they would know how to coordinate their speech to follow one another in an appropriate way. You're assuming it's all coming from the same source or different sources at the same time because you're aware of them at the same time.
I see.
So you'll sort it out. You'll sort it out.
Okay. I've had experiences that, from what you just said, I've created then, where I've had like I'm channeling for one entity, and then another one comes in and says something kind of like different, and then the other one's like, "Shut up! I'm not like not shut up, but like
again,
don't listen to that one."
It's being filtered through your physical mind as to how you're interpreting what's being given to you.
That makes sense.
Yes, I know. That's why I said it.
Right.
So we thank you for today. Go and have some fun.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Good day.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. I would like to get more explanation out of you about the mind-body relationship. You've said that the mind exists within the body within the soul. Right. But that's pretty vague. I think. Like, when you say mind, does that include the higher mind, or is it just the physical mind? And as a healer, like, my experiences definitely would agree with the idea of the mind existing with, like, the physical mind existing within the body. That much seems very clear. But logically, I still grapple with that one because our physical health is so impacted by the beliefs and definitions that we have in our mind. So it would appear that the body is subject to the mind, even though I know that can't be, that the mind has to be subject to the body. And I would love some great examples, or at least one good example of how the mind is subject to the body. That would be helpful. Please comment. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, in some cases, you're accurate, and in some, you're sort of mixing your metaphors. But to start simply, often, in most cases, when we say body, mind, and spirit, the spirit part is what represents the higher mind in that definition or in that example. Although we understand that spirit can be a different thing, although it still includes the higher mind. So the idea is that, yes, your body can be conditioned by the mind, and the mind can be conditioned by the body in a sort of cyclic feedback loop. What you believe yourself to be, what you think of yourself as, can have an effect on how the body behaves. And how the body behaves can reinforce or have an effect on who you think you are, or what you believe about yourself to be true. So that kind of works in tandem with one another. The idea is that the higher mind is above and beyond the idea of the physical mind. Physical mind is simply that which allows you to have a physical experience expressed as the idea of a physical body, because that's just a projection of consciousness, as all physical reality is. So the body is, in a sense, the spirit projecting a portion of itself in a certain way that experiences itself as a physical being. And in order to experience oneself as a physical being, you have to have an organizational pattern of energy within that physical being that represents the physical mind, so it can be aware consciously of the experience it is having. The soul, as we have said, is sort of like unfired clay. The spirit is the ceramic, that is the fired clay, that represents the particular specific experience you're having as a particular physical identity, and therefore is contained within the oversoul and the soul, ultimately. But the higher mind is a splitting of the soul into the non-physical guiding higher mind, and the physical mind having the physical experience. Once the physical mind exists, then the body is subject to the belief systems in the physical mind, and again, the body can reinforce those particular physical beliefs within the physical mind. We do not know if this is a clear enough explanation for you since we're not interacting with you. But generally speaking, you have the oversoul, the soul, splitting itself into the non-physical higher mind and the physical mind, which then can have an experience of creating the spirit that is then once again taking that specific physical life experience and incorporating it back into the soul's experience and feeding that back into the oversoul's experience, which feeds it back into all that is.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So nice to connect with you again. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Please speak up.
Sure. I also want to thank you for that monologue. My heart is definitely racing after listening to that.
Oh, all right.
I had some questions for you that are a little off topic, if that's okay.
All right. That's all right.
So the first question actually had two parts to it, and it mainly has to do with state of being.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been feeling that I'm able to embody that frequency, that energy of my future desired self, who in this case is a rap star. That's one of my biggest dreams is to be a successful rap star one day.
All right. Now, one moment. Let me stop you.
Sure.
If rap is your passion, don't add all sorts of insistences or conditions on how that needs to express yourself when you use the word successful.
Okay.
Because the meaning you may be giving that may not be, it may be, but it may not be the meaning that actually serves you. So you are successful when you are simply expressing your passion in any way, shape, or form. Don't necessarily limit it by putting conditions on what you think being a successful rap star looks like for you. Watch your insistences.
So I'm really glad you said that. Is that maybe my negative ego coming into play, thinking that
it's mostly your training. It's mostly your training saying, well, this is the only way that can actually look. Just relax that definition and be open to the idea that there may be other ways in which that can be represented as successful. You don't know.
Just because I can't imagine it doesn't mean it's not, there's not some higher, maybe reality.
You use what you can imagine. You use what representation you do have as a way of getting you excited, but you drop that particular representation and stay in the state of being to allow the higher mind to bring you the way that actually works best for you. And it might be what you envision, but it might not be. So don't limit it by insisting on the particular way in which you've been taught to think. Just use it to your advantage to get you excited, but don't insist on that picture because it could happen some other way that could be many times better.
Yeah. Again, I'm really glad you said that. It feels like I've heard you say in the past it's about state of being.
Yes.
And it seems like I keep making my goal or my state of being conditional on
on having it to look like a certain thing in order for you to determine that you have been successful. Let me put it to you this way through an example.
Okay.
Let's just say all of a sudden synchronicity, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just opening your mind up a little bit.
Sure.
Let's say synchronicity suddenly brings you an opportunity to arrive at a children's hospital. And in that children's hospital, you do your rap for those children to allow them to feel more excited, more healthy, more uplifted. Now, what if that's all it turns out to be? Would you not know that you would still be getting absolute joy out of that, even though it's not traditionally what many people would think of as a traditional music career?
Right.
So,
no, I absolutely, yeah.
All right. So allow for different ways in which you could be of service by expressing your joy and your passion and your gift. I'm not again saying it has to limit itself to any one way. You may be doing it 12 different ways. But the idea is that if you only insist that one way is the way, you will never experience the idea of the 11 other ways it could also be.
That's deep, Bashar. I'm really glad. My follow-up question to that is like irrelevant now, but I'm trying to process what you just said.
Oh, it's not that difficult. You understand the concept that I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this fear that I have. Actually, I have a couple fears, but one is that I'm gonna follow the formula, act on my passion, make music, and then I'm gonna be 40 years old one day, living under a bridge or something. And
Well, that's extremely interesting that you would pick that kind of a scenario as the logical outcome of following your passion, which means you have a completely contradictory definition of what your passion is all about. Because you're saying, if I follow my passion, something that's not representative of my passion might happen. That's an absolute impossibility. Or even if it did happen physically that way, it would actually be representative of your passion and you wouldn't mind it. So the idea is to trust that the state of being will express itself through any outcome that is truly representative of your passion, no matter how it looks. What if living under a bridge for a day, a week, or a year actually improved your ability to deliver your rap songs, because now you've experienced a slice of life that allows you to go deeper in the content that you will share with other people? Would that not be part of your passion?
I'm definitely starting to see what you're getting at.
All right.
Very, very enlightening. Yeah, I guess, and then it goes to another fear that I have of actually making it, big one day, and then it feels like,
you can't handle it.
Yeah, maybe just like every move I make would be under a microscope, and then
so what?
Yeah.
What? That's your mantra. So what? Because again, if you understand that you are truly in alignment with your passion, whatever it is that happens is going to be an expression of that and will actually feel correct. Now, if it doesn't feel correct, that gives you the opportunity to examine the fear-based beliefs within you to make sure you actually are following your passion, because maybe you took another course that really wasn't representative of it, and the feeling is guiding you back into the true path for you. Or again, it gives you the opportunity to let go of that fear-based belief so that you can truly feel where you are as being representative of the outcome of your passion.
I feel like on either case of either of those fears, those two extremes, the underlying fear is just embarrassment or maybe like feeling humiliated or something, making a mistake. So definitely something to...
All right, but if you make a mistake, isn't that something you can learn from and do differently next time?
Right, especially if I define it in the most positive light possible.
Exactly. How you experience anything is how you define it.
Nice.
So I'm not saying you suddenly recognize negative things as positive things. I'm saying you recognize that even when something is generated by a negative experience, you can still get a positive experience from it if you stay in a positive state. Remember, that is one of the stages of the formula. You stay in a positive state no matter what happens, so you can get the benefit out of it.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll only experience the negative side of it by defining it in a negative way. Oh, this shouldn't have happened. I did something wrong. This doesn't belong in my life. I'm not capable. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah.
And then
if that's what you prefer, then that's what you'll get.
Right. Awesome. So glad you said that, Bashar. Thank you so much for your time.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Till next time.
Good day.
Good day.
Hi, Bashar. This is Karen again. I've got another question for you, and it is about cats once more. So, you told me in a previous conversation that cats do not reincarnate, but there is something peculiar about my cats. They seem to be connected to one another. Now, my cats are not cats. They truly guide me. They truly help me. They're just magical. And I was wondering, do animals, and then especially cats, have an oversoul, just as we humans have? And the cats that truly take on this mission, maybe, to guide humans, do they come from the same oversoul? thank you for broadening up my perspective on this. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, cats can have an oversoul. Now, when we said cats don't reincarnate, we say it in the same way that we say nothing actually does, because everything exists all at the same time. And reincarnation is an illusion from the physical perspective. You can create a sensation in physical reality, a perspective from physical reality that one life happens after another. But the idea is that it's simply a connection to things that exist at the same time and share similar frequencies so that you make that connection and think it's the same being over and over again when it's not. Different extensions of the same oversoul happening from the oversoul's perspective at the same time can play out in linear time-based physical reality as if they're in different times, all connecting back to the same oversoul. So reincarnation is the experience you can have from the physical perspective, but mechanically speaking, there's no such thing for humans, animals, or anything else, because everything exists all at the same time, and you make energetic connections to all these other things to create a linear continuity between them that makes it seem as if reincarnation is the mechanism, when all it is the experience from a particular perspective. But yes, there can be similar vibrations in cats that will be necessary to work with different humans in different ways or other beings in different ways. That creates a continuity that human may need to experience in order to understand what's going on as the lesson being reflected.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
I'm Rem from Sarasota, Florida. How are you doing today?
Perfect, and you?
Good. I'm
All
really
right.
good.
All right.
Recently, I've been excited about exploring the Taoist permission slip called Nea Kung and how it relates to the concepts you share with us.
All right. Is it working for you?
One more time.
Is it working for you?
Yes. I'm asking some really interesting questions, I think.
All right.
Practitioners of Nea Kung store energy in the Dantian, or the subnavel. Taoist practitioners theorize that is an optimal place to store energy because of some of the first cells created in conception.
All right.
I was curious why it seems like energy is stored in some places of the body more than others. It seems like the body is entirely comprised of energy, so wouldn't any part of it be receptive?
You can use it that way, but again, because you are experiencing a physical reality and have agreed to abide by the conditions and so-called rules of physical reality and processes that exist in physical reality, you can also diversify and look at things in ways that compartmentalize things that may be a way that works better for some people than others. So you can say, well, because this is the first cell created, I'm going to focus on that as having the ability to store a particular kind of energy for my purposes. So it's really all workable. You can look at it any way you want, but if you've gravitated to some particular perspective like that, there may be a reason for it. And it could be the reason that that is the perspective that will work for you. Or it could be the reason that gets you to ask the question, can't it be done in any part of the body? So you have to determine which answer is true for you with your investigation.
I was also curious about how this relates to, because it seemed to me that it would just be automatic by following the formula.
Yes, it
various
is.
Types of energy.
It is.
How does it mechanically, how does that look?
How does what look? Following the formula?
No. I mean, when does energy get involved in the formula? What is happening with energy in the formula?
Your energy overall is raising its frequency so that you can become a more sensitive receiver and an antenna to higher frequency information from the higher mind, from spirit, from other dimensional beings that can help guide you in figuring out what techniques, what permission slips work best for you.
Okay. And so there's another thing too, like the idea that where attention goes, chi flows, and attention is the first primary factor, and then chi is a secondary factor.
Yes, well, the idea is exactly the same thing as acting on your passion. That's your focus. And when you act on your passion, all the energy of your being goes into becoming the driving engine, the organizing principle, the path of least resistance. That's the same thing in different terms.
Oh, okay. And is intention related to attention?
When you follow your passion, where else would your attention be?
But I mean, intention.
Where else would your intention be? If you're following your passion, you simply don't have an intention to do anything else at that moment. That's what we mean by it becomes the driving engine.
How do you discern intention from expectation?
Expectation in its negative sense is insistence.
Okay. So
Does that help?
intention is just positive expectation.
Intention is
without
just it's just the way you focus your energy by following your passion. Yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
My last question is, what happens when we get goosebumps? Let's say we hear a meaningful speech or there's a change in music. What causes goosebumps for us in that way?
You are aligning with the frequency and all of your little antennas perk up.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. That's all.
You are very welcome. Have a good day.
You also.
Hi Bashar, it's Dami from Israel. Can you tell us more about the moon, the way it changes monthly when it's getting half full and then getting smaller? I suppose that every cycle has its own energy. So can you tell us how can we use this energy that the moon gives us in every cycle so we can benefit our lives? And also, how does it connect to the women's monthly period? Thank you.
Well, energetically, they are deeply connected with the vibrations of emotionality. So you can explore different aspects of your emotionality during the different cycles of the moon. If you're asking for a physical explanation, well, you can look that up on your own in your internet because it's easily understood why there are different phases of the moon with regard to its position in its orbit around your Earth relative to the sun. But the idea energetically is that you can use it to gauge the idea of energy within your physical and emotional systems to represent the idea of the waxing and waning of life, birth, death, so on and so forth, in any way, shape, or form that you desire to use it according to the permission slip that you've attracted to use and the definitions that you apply to that particular permission slip. So we leave that up to you, but it's strongly connected to the vibrations of your emotionality and your physical cycles because it represents the whole idea in and of itself of cycles in physical reality, of light and dark and in between.
Hello, Bashar. Nice to speak with you again.
And to you, good day.
So I spoke with you some months ago, and you suggested one thing for me to do is to get an animal companion.
Yes.
And I said that I travel too much. And I thought I was going to stay somewhere, but I started traveling again, and I kind of just enjoy it too much. Is there a way that I can just interact with the pets and animals I meet along the way?
Absolutely. Animal companions don't have to necessarily live with you all the time. You can trade them out per location.
Okay. What I noticed about the animals that kind of made a difference is how cats can kind of come and they want affection and then they go away.
Yes.
Is that sort of what you were suggesting? It's like you don't always need it. It just comes and goes.
Correct. And cats are very adept at sensing exactly what you need and sensing when you don't need it.
Yeah. So about the subject of traveling, I really wish to keep traveling a lot.
All right. We'll keep doing so.
Though I also thought about buying land as an investment in a place that really feels like somewhere I keep coming back to.
All right. Well, you can do both, you know.
I'm not sure if I feel excited about it because it feels like a lot of work, and my main motivation is kind of financial. So I don't know.
All right. Stop. You have to examine whether or not you're dampening the excitement with your negative definitions. Because when you say, well, I'm not sure if I feel excited about it, then obviously you don't feel excited about it. And the idea is that you have to determine whether or not you're killing the excitement with your definitions or whether it's truly not your excitement. So you have to have honest self-investigation about all the things you think that buying land is going to do that will bring you down to a level where you won't enjoy your life and find out if those definitions are actually true or if you're just buying into things that have nothing to do with what could actually be experienced by you. So when you do that, you will know clearly whether or not buying land is truly representative of your passion or not. And if it does turn out to be representative of your passion, then by definition, buying land would never interfere with any other expression of your passion like traveling. They would work harmoniously together.
Thank you. That's very clear.
All right.
Is there anything I can personally do to accelerate the open contact besides the following the formula and what I'm already doing?
No.
Okay. I've had this idea to make an open contact festival or retreat or restival specifically for those who are excited about ET contact.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And since that's an expression of following your passion, that's what will accelerate the possibility.
Okay. But is there anything specific about that you'd suggest?
Do what you believe needs to be included as long as it's in alignment with your true passion.
Okay.
It will be exactly what it needs to be.
I also want to expand my audience and share more of my gifts. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Can you put yourself farther out? Can you advertise yourself broader?
Yeah, maybe I need an assistant for that because it's kind of challenging.
All right. Allowing yourself to attract an assistant can be representative of your passion. We're not saying you have to do every single aspect of something you're passionate about. Attracting someone to help you can be part of your passion.
Okay. I often get caught in comparison with other channelers and energy workers and astrologers, and
when you say you get caught, what do you mean?
I compare myself, or I think that I'm not good enough.
You have no business comparing yourself to anyone. You're unique, they're unique. You cannot compare yourself to anyone. It doesn't work. So you have no business doing so.
Okay.
Do it the way that works for you.
Okay. So I have a question about moving too fast in life. I feel like I move really fast and I really love it. And
then slow down into your true pace, and you will move as fast as you can possibly go. Sometimes you have to slow down to go faster. If you are moving fast truly because you love it, then that's one thing. But if you're moving fast because you're desperate to think that you might miss something or won't accomplish something, then you're doing it out of fear and it's not your true pace. Your true pace will feel fast enough when you align with it.
Okay.
So again, always examine why you're doing what you're doing in the way you're doing it. If you're doing it because you think you're going to miss something, then that tells you you're doing it from a negative fear-based reason. Slow down and trust that the way your life unfolds and the rate at which it unfolds is perfect. When you find the true pace, it will feel absolutely correct, and everything that happens will fall into place in perfect timing. Remember, it's not about time, it's about timing.
And what about if I have a lot of desires or cravings for coffee or cacao, things that make me move faster?
Again, you have to examine why you're doing that. Because again, if you're doing it for negative fear-based reasons, it's not going to work for you and it will burn you out. What's your hurry? What is your hurry?
I don't know. I just want to accomplish as much as I can and experience.
What is your hurry? Do you not understand? Do you not understand that if you actually are synchronized with your perfect timing, that you will by definition accomplish everything that you actually chose to accomplish in this life? But that paradoxically, if you actually force yourself to hurry up and rush ahead, you actually will miss several of the things you wanted to accomplish because you won't be in the present, which is where they need to happen. You'll be rushing ahead, thinking of the future, hurrying up to be somewhere you're not, instead of being where you actually are, which would allow things to manifest much more quickly. Because things can't manifest when you're not present. So sometimes, again, as we say, you may need to slow down a little bit in order to actually help things move ahead more quickly.
That's very clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have thoughts on polyamory?
Whatever it is that someone is attracted to do that is in agreement by consensus with everyone else, as long as there is clear communication about what is going on with everyone so that they are making a conscious choice in those arrangements, then that's fine.
Is there a way to kind of transcend jealousy in those settings, or is that always a part of our human experience?
No, it is not. Jealousy means you think you're missing something, that you're not getting what you need. It is a poor me situation. I'm deprived definition.
Right.
So you're not trusting the way your life unfolds, and you're not actually living your passion.
Yeah. I finally met somebody who feels like a good match, but since that happened, it feels like I've lost a lot of my desire. It's almost like I was more into the chase than actually having. I don't know if there's any way that I can really drop in.
Then do an investigation about what it is you actually got out of that and the reasons for why you experienced it in the way that you did. You need some honest self-investigation about why you choose to do the things you do. So take some time to do that. Don't be in a hurry to do anything else other than figure out why you do what you do. That's what will help you the most.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When people exchange sexual energy or even kiss, some people say that there's like a DNA transfer and that people take on energy from others. To what extent is that true? And how long does that energy stick around?
The idea is you are simply matching frequencies with the other being, and it sticks around as long as you desire to match frequencies with them. And then when you change your frequency...
Some people are very dogmatic about that.
I understand.
Do you have any perspective on the importance of gay, lesbian, and bisexual people and other queer people in that planetary evolution or ascension?
It is important for the evolution on your planet because it shows people on your planet that there are many different ways to express the soul and love.
And on individual levels, is there something more significant that we can cultivate?
Well, it can be. Yes, it can be, but we're going to leave that up to every individual who experiences it.
That was all of my questions, too. You answered every single one.
Thank you very much.
You're amazingly synchronistic, and I love you so much.
We love you unconditionally. Please move forward in your life in the best possible way for you, paying attention to why you do what you do. That's all you need to do.
Okay. I hope to meet you soon. I hope that all of our extraterrestrial friends can land and we can have a big party.
Someday that will be possible.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Bashar.
You are welcome.
Good day, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you? Good day.
Thank you very much. Bashar, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Well, you have co-created it with us, so thank you.
Be honest with you, since I'm new to this, I don't know if I can wrap my head around the idea of talking to a society 500 years in the future, but this is...
Well, you don't need to wrap your head around that. It's the information that is important. It doesn't matter whether you believe we are who we say we are. It's simply a methodology of delivering information, and if the information is applied in your life, the proof of the pudding, as you say on Earth, is that the information will make the changes in your life that are important. It doesn't matter whether you believe the source of the information if the information works for you.
Oh, okay. Recently, I read a book on a lady's experience on a near-death experience.
Yes.
She talked in depth about how she levitated over her bed with doctors trying to save her life. She experienced... She listened to conversations down the hall.
Yes.
And
these are all typical experiences in out-of-body near-death experiences.
Right. So what I was really perplexed by is the communication to a higher frequency she claimed that she had with her father that passed away 7 years before, and then also her friend 3 years after that.
Yes.
She said words can't describe how efficient the communication was. And I was just wondering if you can elaborate on how higher frequency works, and if that's the same type, is that the same communication you have with other Sasanis?
Yes. The idea is that all information exists at the same time. Time is an illusion. So the idea is that when a concept is formed, all the information having to do with that concept is there all at once in a non-verbal way. The idea is that even going on in this channeling, in this transmission, when someone asks a question, all the information is there and it is delivered by us all at once. It simply takes time to unspool through the channel's brain and translate into the language that you understand, because I'm not speaking English. I'm simply sending telepathic thoughts, telepathic concepts that are whole unto themselves and contain every part of the issue all at once. Whatever then needs to be unspooled and translated into your language takes time. But the original communication is there instantaneously, all at the same time. That's how it happens in non-physical reality. There's no verbal communication. It's all about resonance. It's all about vibration and matching frequencies. When you're on a certain frequency level, you understand exactly the things that are commensurate with that frequency level. So it's about matching frequencies and receiving all the information at the same time that is germane to that particular frequency. Does that answer your question, or is there some specific thing you want to explore?
No, that
further?
does actually, because she was able to describe having listened to conversations down the hall, realizing her brother was traveling from a distance to come see her. So she was able to gather all this and realize everything all at the same time. So
yes, on that level, it's holistic and holographic.
Is there how can we emulate that more on Earth?
By following the formula and opening up to following your passion and being in a state of love all the time. Because when you are in a state of love, when you're following your passion and doing what you love to do, your frequency automatically raises. And when your frequency raises, it becomes a more sensitive receiver and an antenna to receive higher dimensional information.
That actually dovetails into my next question.
How synchronistic.
About death.
Yes.
Every person who claims to have a near-death experience, they all say the same thing about blissfulness and peacefulness and unconditional love. And and I just wonder what is this place? Is it a state, or is it a place, or how do we?
It's both.
It's both. How do we recreate that?
It's both. The idea is to understand that what you translate in your physical reality as the concept of unconditional love and bliss is actually the frequency of existence itself. So in that state, when you remove yourself from some of the limitations you impose upon your consciousness that have to do with limitations of space and time, you are more adept at perceiving directly the frequency of existence itself. And that is that unconditional support and love that you talk about from the physical perspective.
Okay. Now, regarding spirits,
yes.
how are some spirits, do some spirits linger in this state?
Yes.
And why do some spirits choose to remain like on Earth? Recently,
they're not on Earth per se, but they're in what might be termed the lower astral realms that are close enough to the physical vibration that they might sometimes be perceived by those sensitive enough to see them. There are different layers of frequencies in the afterlife, so to speak. And those that may feel they have unfinished business may linger to deliver a message wherever they can. Those that feel they need to guide someone else who is having a difficult time may linger to be a spirit guide for them. And there are those that sometimes die based on their belief systems that feel like they don't even know that they're dead. So they may continue to act like they're trying to live their physical life and perhaps be confused about why certain people can't talk to them or see them anymore, but be lost in their confusion because of fear and negative belief systems that they harbored when they were alive that doesn't allow them to understand they can open up and go further into the spirit world. So there are many reasons, as there are individuals who may choose to remain close to the physical vibration of Earth.
Okay. Yeah, that explains a couple of the questions I had after. Now, is this self-selected, or is this self-selected by them to linger behind to finish?
Well, as I said, some of them select that consciously, and some of them may not know they have an option to move on. It depends on what belief systems you hold on to most strongly when you die. But eventually, people either in physical reality or in spirit can be guides for them to remind them and let them go that they have crossed over, they are now no longer physical in the same way, and that they can move on to higher and higher levels if they so desire. So they will always have help, but also sometimes they may have to go through a particular process in the same way that people on Earth have to go through certain processes to make certain realizations. Just because you're in spirit doesn't necessarily mean you're finished with a particular process. However, the majority of people, especially in this day and age on your planet, are aware of such ideas and therefore are less likely to remain earthbound, as you say, because they know that they're starting to hear stories of near-death experiences, shared death experiences, and the bliss and peace and joy and love that goes with it. And that can actually color exactly what they're able to experience when they do die.
Wonderful. I recently had a friend that passed, and is there a way for me to raise my frequency to communicate with him?
I just told you, follow the formula, follow your passion, because it raises your frequency, and then synchronicity will take over, and you will know when you have received a communication. Now, for most people, it's a little easier to receive those communications when you're asleep in your dreams, because then your physical mind and all of its insistences are out of the way. But yes, by following your passion, you can allow the physical reality to become a little bit more lucid and allow more flexibility of communication with higher frequency dimensions like spirit. And synchronicity plays a big part in that. A lot of times a message delivered from spirit will not necessarily come with trumpets or voices or things like that. They will often use what's easiest and in front of your face already by simply making a very soft suggestion that today on your walk you will turn left instead of right, because they know that if you turn left instead of right, you may overhear a conversation that reminds you of them or see something that reminds you of them, and then you will know that that unusual synchronicity, that unusual choice to make a difference in your walking path is actually a message saying, hi, I'm here. And I just had to tell you, just had to urge you to go one way or the other to know that there's a message from me to you. That's more often than not how spirit will do it, because physical minds are so limited and so focused that it's easier to use what's already in front of your face to get the message through.
That's fantastic. One other thing is I recently heard an audio of this gentleman explaining, and he had a memory of his soul attached into a pre-fetus.
Yes.
And how he was scared and how he had to lower his frequency to get down to the fetus level. Yes. And how he rejected it the first 2 times and then it finally attached.
Yes.
Is that possible to have a pre-fetus memory?
You exist eternally. And therefore, from a linear perspective, there can be a before this life as well as an after this life, even though everything exists at the same time when you eliminate the concept of time in a timeless state. So yes, spirits can experience certain ideas previous to the idea of making the choice to have a physical experience, and that can be many different kinds of experiences.
Wow. The attachment process is interesting to me. Do the souls choose the fetus, or is the fetus choosing the soul, or is that selected by...
Well, in a sense, from your perspective, it would be more like the soul choosing the fetus. You choose everything. In a sense, the fetus also has a type of consciousness that does match the needs of the soul. So it's by an agreement. But the idea is that everything is a choice. Nothing is by accident, really. You choose your family, you choose in many ways the situations and circumstances that you believe in that life you need to learn what you are choosing to learn for your own soul's growth and continuation.
Wow. Thank you, Bashar. Appreciate it.
It is our passion and our pleasure, and we bid you good day.
Thank you.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of questions from our viewers.
All right.
The first question is, can you explain more about the mechanics of the heart chakra? To be more specific, how focusing on your heart chakra can be more beneficial than focusing on other chakras, and how the heart chakra relates to other chakras?
It is not more beneficial. It depends on what it is you wish to focus on. Obviously, the other chakra systems in your body are also essential. They are all interconnected. They all take their cues, in some sense, from the heart. As we said, the heart reflects the vibration of the higher mind, kind of like a drum. It repeats the vibration in physical terms, so the physical mind can receive it along the neurological pathways and through the blood. But then, of course, the physical mind may have belief system filters in place that will color or filter or change that vibration, feeding back to the heart the degree of alignment or the degree of misalignment from the original vibration that was sent from the higher mind to the heart. The heart then disperses that vibration to all the centers of the body, all the chakra points, all the cellular structures along the neurological network of the body, thus allowing the cells to know whether you are generally in alignment with your true self or out of alignment, and how far out of alignment you might be. This is what can cause the idea of disease in the body by the heart, reflecting the degree of filtering or negativity in the belief system of the physical mind to the rest of the body. And in that sense, it is a great organizer for the body as to what is going on. It is a synchronizer of that vibration that comes from the higher mind to the heart, but then through the physical mind and its belief systems, and then to the body. This is how they generally are interrelated and interconnected. Essential in that sense, but not essential in that it is more important than any other chakra system in the body or chakra point. It again depends upon what you wish to focus on.
Okay, thank you. This question is, as a mother, I experience unconditional love with my daughter. As she crossed over, I feel so disconnected and lost. The pain has been overwhelming, and I do not understand why a mother has to go through this after experiencing blissful, unconditional love with a daughter. Why is this acceptable?
The idea is for those that are still physical, when close loved ones pass into spirit, to reach out to them and allow themselves to still know that bliss can be experienced rather than having a belief system that the person has been lost. This is part of the training that you have agreed to as part of the evolution of the human species on your planet at this time, to have made an agreement with someone beloved that would cross into spirit before you, so that you can practice knowing that you are still connected, can reach out to them and still feel them and still develop a communication with them. The idea of treating this as if you have lost something is what causes the pain. Allowing yourself to know that even sometimes by continuing to experience this or define it as a loss, allows you to experience communication from them as pain, as grief. If you would let go of the idea that they are lost or gone, that they are still very much present with you in a variety of ways, just on a different level, then you will honor the agreement you made with your daughter to allow her to stretch your consciousness into spirit so that you may experience the benefits of making those connections in your physical reality. This is a great favor and loving thing that she has done with you, to give you the chance, while still physical, to expand your awareness, expand your consciousness, and experience in your life the benefits of making a stronger connection consciously to the idea of her in the spirit realm.
Thank you. From an absolute standpoint, is my conscious experience absolutely all that there is without anything being outside of it? Or do others have their own conscious experience outside of my consciousness? Does oneness not invalidate any separation, like something being outside of my consciousness?
It depends on the level that you're looking from. In other words, you can have an experience of separation, which is what you have in physical reality. That doesn't mean you actually are literally separated. Again, the paradox is that you are using your connection to create an experience of separation. You couldn't have an experience of individual separation if you actually weren't connected to all that is. So in that ultimate sense, from that perspective, no, there is no outside. But from the experience of individuation, from the experience of creating the illusion of separation, then yes, you can have an outside, and there are many beings you may be unaware of that are having their own experiences. Your experiential reality only contains your versions of other beings. They exist in their own right, in a sense, outside of you, and there may be millions of them that you do not experience because there is no reason for you to create a version of those beings in your reality experience. At the same time, this is all happening within the all that is, that has no outside. But you have to understand that you cannot necessarily mix your language that way. You can't mix your definitions that way in a coherent sense. You have to understand what level that you're talking from. When you say, is there really an outside? If everything is one, there shouldn't be an outside. Well, yes, on that level, that's true. But you're talking from the experience of having created the illusion of separation, which creates the illusion of an outside and many beings that you may not be aware of outside of yourself.
Amazing. What happens to those people that have heart transplants or artificial hearts in relation to the multi-level aspects of, your native heart when you have a normal heart?
Well, again, as many people on your planet have experienced, you may start picking up on some of the vibrations that were connected to the heart of the other individual and take on some of those qualities. In a sense, it is a way of making a stronger connection to another individual by actually having their physical heart in your body. It's one way to understand the connection that exists through vibration between all of you, whether you have a heart transplant or not. But nevertheless, you can start exhibiting, as many of you know, some of the traits and qualities of the other person whose heart has been donated to you. So, the artificial heart, in that sense, may connect you to a different level of consciousness that might be closer to the concept of artificial intelligence. So it depends upon the reasons why you have chosen to have that experience, what it is you have agreed to connect to, how it is you will utilize that connection, whatever it is, in your particular reality application to move forward in your life, and what lessons you can learn from the connections you have made to something that you consider to be other than yourself.
Okay. Which kind of negative belief systems are behind the emotions of suffering, longing, and feelings of loss involved with unrequited love? What can one do in order to transform so that there's only love left? And what if one is emotionally detached, but the other person is in love and is suffering because of it? What can you do in order to alleviate suffering?
First and foremost, in any form of relationship, make absolutely no assumption about what the relationship is about. You don't know what it's about. No matter how strong it feels, no matter how strong the attraction, that doesn't tell you what the relationship is in your life for, because it can still serve many different purposes, even if you are absolutely attracted, magnetically attracted to someone, doesn't mean that it is a particular kind of societal assumption of what that relationship should look like in terms of how it plays out physiologically. So the idea is to drop all your assumptions and let the relationship show you what it is. And the idea of pain and suffering in any love relationship, again, may have to do with beliefs in lack of worthiness, or simply definitions you have about what those connections mean that actually are not real in that sense, that are not relevant for what the relationship actually is. So we would simply always encourage you to really clarify what definitions you have about what you think any relationship is supposed to be, because they're all basically for the purpose of reflecting to you what you need to know to be more in love with yourself and all that is, which will then give you more reflections of connection to other people as well, in a more positive sense. But all suffering and all pain is generally the result of the resistance to your true self, your natural self, and the imposition of belief systems and definitions that are out of alignment with who you truly are.
Okay. How can I remain as my true, unconditional, loving self when my egoic self pops up and is very convincing as real. When I'm in a flow state, I can't see how I could forget my ego, and yet it comes and goes just like everything else somehow.
What you're referring to is the negative ego. You will never lose the ego as long as you're physical, because the ego is the physical personality that allows you to have a physical experience. So it's not about losing the ego. It's about defining yourself as in alignment with it and letting it do its job, which is just to focus you on having an experience in physical reality terms. But the idea of making it in control, having it be a controlling factor, like you have to know what's going to happen, you have to know what kind of outcome is going to happen for you to feel like you're in control, and so on and so forth, is not the focus that it was designed to have. Its only focus as a typical natural ego structure, a physical personality structure, is to give you an experience of physical reality. So the idea is to go with your flow, knowing that the ego, being allowed to do the job it was designed to do, will simply give you the opportunity to experience what's happening, but the ego is not designed to know what's going to happen. That's the purview, shall we say, of the higher mind.
So interesting. I act on my passions every moment I can, but lately I've noticed that I have expectations. How can I help myself to not have expectations? And what negative beliefs would I be holding on to by having expectations?
Expectations may be too general of a term because you can always expect something is going to happen. There's always a consequence to an action or a choice. What we are refining that definition to be is not having insistences or assumptions, not just general expectations. The idea of insistence means, again, you do not trust the way your life unfolds and what it brings you as being the thing you actually need, and think from the negative ego that you know best what the outcome should actually look like, when in fact it may not need to look like that at all for you to be truly served. So it's about dropping the assumptions as to what's supposed to happen, insistences on what you think should happen, and simply expect that what needs to happen will happen, and then how you respond to it will be exactly the measure of how much you have let go of any insistence on the outcome.
So how will I know if I'm actually following my excitement or I'm just avoiding fears?
Well, again, you have to be honest in your self-examination. If it comes right down to it, pretty much everyone knows the difference between excitement and anxiety. You simply have to be honest about why you would be afraid of something, why you might be anxious about something, by letting yourself feel that feeling and not dismissing it, not disguising it, not dampening it. If you are anxious, let yourself feel it so that it's clear that you're coming from a fear-based belief, and then you have something to work with. So honesty and willingness to experience the emotions as they come up and own them, because if you don't own them, you can't change them. Acknowledge them for what they are clearly, without fear, and then you will be able to examine and discern the difference between true excitement and anxiety very easily. You just have to be honest within yourself about what it is you're experiencing and examine whether or not you are running from something or running to something.
Couldn't like your negative ego delude you into thinking that what is actually your passion is not, and make you think you're running from fear, based on whether you're more like a self-critical person that would lean towards finding fault with yourself, with the way that you're following your passion? You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but again, the idea is that's relatively temporary if you are open and willing to have an honest discussion with yourself about what it is you're actually experiencing. Always take a moment to stop. You don't have to rush headlong forward in anything. You can take a moment and examine your choices to find out whether that choice is based on a positive or a negative belief. Take that time. That's what that time is for. You don't have to rush ahead. So you will have the discernment if you understand that you're always willing to be open and honest with yourself and take the time to examine why you are choosing what you're choosing. That's the key. Why am I choosing this?
How can I find out my belief system behind a situation? I understand honesty is very important, and I'm completely honest and willing to explore myself. But I always go into some loop when finding answers, and I don't know how to break the loop. How can I break that loop of trying to find out what is my hidden belief system?
Explore the loop itself. In other words, the loop itself is obviously a fear-based belief system perpetuating itself and preventing you from moving forward. Therefore, you must be getting something out of it. The belief system within you must, in a sense, be convincing you that you're getting something out of looping. So ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I stop looping? What am I getting out of looping? It's obviously a procrastination mechanism. So, again, it still takes honest self-examination, but the subject of the examination is the concept of the loop itself. It doesn't happen automatically. You have been convinced by some fear-based belief system that you should loop. It's not out of your control. It may feel like it, but it's not. It's a choice you're making to continue looping because you're afraid that if you stop looping, something worse will happen. So take that stance and explore what you believe might be worse if in fact you didn't loop at all.
Is that essentially the same thing as like ruminating, where something happens, a person gets upset, and they just keep replaying it over and over and over in their mind?
Yes. It's preventing them from moving forward because they have chosen to be in a loop of rumination. That should be your first clue that you're afraid that something worse will happen if you stopped doing that. It doesn't mean something will happen. It just means you're afraid that it will.
Okay. How do I know the difference between a limiting belief system that is using my emotions and thoughts versus my actual thoughts and emotions that come through my heart?
Again, we have answered this.
Okay.
You have simple, self-honest examination, and when you are willing to be open to that and truly clear and transparent within yourself, it's very easy to tell the difference between why you choose to do something and whether that is from fear and anxiety or from true excitement. Ask yourself, why am I choosing this? Why? How does this experience, even the negative one, serve me? Do I believe it safeguards me from something worse? You have to ask these questions of yourself, and you have to answer them honestly.
So another question is, real anger is around 15 seconds, right? And then after that, it turns into judgment, basically.
Yes.
So how about other emotions like sorrow, sadness, shame, being hurt, and all that when you're continuing to experience that beyond, let's say, 15 seconds?
All the same. It's all the same mechanism. And perhaps the idea, again, is better expressed as alignment. So guilt, shame, these things, again, are simply emotional components that in the natural state are simply matters of recognizing the difference between true alignment and how far out of alignment you may be based on the choices you made. It only takes about 15 seconds to have that sensation course through you and recognize that what that is a measurement of the difference between alignment and misalignment. That's all that sensation is. You're out of alignment. Therefore, if it lingers beyond the 15-second mark, you have already added self-judgment to it, gone into beliefs of lack of self-worth, lack of capability, so on and so forth. All of those experiences are simply a rush of energy that gives you the difference between alignment and misalignment so that you can choose to realign yourself or you can choose to wallow in self-judgment.
So actually what you just pointed out is that there's almost like a process of going into a downward spiral. It's like each step, once you buy into a negative belief at one level, then it takes you down to yet another level.
Yes, it's like an elevator. You've pressed the down button instead of pressing the up button.
But in terms of something like grieving, that would be a little different in terms of not...
It's a little different, but not much. It's still utilizing a similar mechanism because, as I said, The only reason you really grieve is that you have a definition that you've lost something, that it's truly been separated from you, and that there's no connection remaining. If you change that definition, you would experience something quite different. So it may be slightly different as an expression, but it still utilizes the same mechanism. The definitions are creating a misalignment with what is true.
And so in the future, when we have stronger connection to those that have passed over, will we be able to just talk to them in our heads as if they're standing there, or will it be something where we do it through a device?
It can be any number of mechanisms. Ultimately, it can simply be you're talking to them because you can see and hear them, because you're matching a frequency that they exist on in their particular realm.
So then the only other barrier perhaps would be the idea that you cannot physically touch the person, or you don't.
Even that is not necessarily true. As we exist in our civilization as what we are terming quasi-physical beings, means we have traits of both physical and non-physical reality. Spirits can touch us and we can touch them.
Wow.
It's a matter of realigning your frequency.
So you mean we could actually get to the point where, for example, the person who lost their daughter would actually be able to feel that they're in a one-on-one communication, talking and being able to hug? Or
yes, if you look at your literature about the idea of what you call ghosts, you will find that there are many references to beings that seem so solid, people on your planet don't even know they're looking at a spirit. So it depends on the reasons for that, and we're not going to go into that at the moment. But clearly in your literature and in your accounting of such meetings, you do have a listing of experiences where people couldn't even tell that they were speaking to a ghost.
And that would just change our whole process. Once we get to that point, grieving will be unnecessary, I suppose.
Yes, but of course, it's really backwards. Once you change to that point, grieving will be unnecessary.
I see. According to our scientists, the Earth's core is iron nickel sphere. So does that mean that Earthlings have an iron heart? And in your opinion, what is the strangest material you've discovered at the core of a planet in our physical universe? And what did it mean for the life forms there?
The idea, of course, is that you do have iron in your blood, and your blood passes through your heart. In that sense, you could say, yes, you have an iron heart, energetically speaking. The most interesting substance we have found at the core of a physical planet is neutronium. The idea of everything being packed so tightly that it becomes neutral without a positive or a negative charge. The life forms that are connected to that particular world are unlike anything that you might understand and exist on a level of quantum fluctuations.
Certainly is an interesting universe, isn't it?
Yes.
And you would know because you've seen a lot more of it than perhaps we have.
I've seen a little more than you have, but I have seen nothing but a fraction of what exists.
Wow. And is Earth just an amazingly unique planet in terms of all the animals and life that's here? I mean, how do you all view that?
Everything is unique.
Yes.
You are differently unique, yes, than any other world. There are worlds that are somewhat similar to yours. You are similar to them. But again, not identical. Unless you're looking at the idea of parallel realities in which another Earth may be so similar that you can't tell the difference. It might be only different literally by one subatomic particle. Still a different universe. So there can be those that look almost identical where you cannot tell the difference, and there are those that are so radically different you wouldn't even know that it's still considered to be Earth.
You've said on several occasions that everything is made out of love. If that's true, does that mean that even the greatest criminals and sadists are made out of love? And how can love produce such hatred, cruelty, and oppression? Please explain
love,
how
true love, is unconditional, remember? That is the essential vibration of existence. You simply translate that as unconditional love in your language. But the key word is unconditional. Therefore, it's simply a matter of everything being made out of that vibration, harmonizing with that vibration, but because you are experiencing yourself as an individuated consciousness in physical reality that can be built upon filters and belief systems, you don't necessarily experience it that way because you don't necessarily know how to align with it because you haven't been taught how to do so. So even the idea of someone you would consider to be a criminal may be acting, quote unquote, out of love in their true intention, but they may have no way of understanding how to actually express that in an aligned and harmonious way because they don't have the tools. They haven't been taught how to do that. So their actions, to the best of their ability, may be being done out of a distorted sense of love or self-love. But again, it's not necessarily a holistic expression, a unifying and harmonizing expression of the idea of the basic, fundamental, unconditional vibration of existence itself. Because you have the freedom to choose, because things are unconditional, how to express the idea of the love of which you're made, of the vibrational existence of which you are made.
And the idea of bringing heaven to earth. Can you share some more with us about how that relates to the heart and
again,
the experience we're having here?
Yes. When you clear out the negative vibrations, the definitions in your belief systems that are not relevant for you as a being in your true sense, then the vibration, message, communication from the higher mind will go to the heart as it does and be reflected to a physical mind that is now clear and transparent and free of any distortions in its belief system. And by doing that, you radiate then to all parts of your body and outward through your electromagnetic aura that vibration of purity and alignment and clarity that comes more directly from the higher mind to the heart to now a physical mind that is a transmitter in a pure sense. Thus then that can, by example, allow others to sense that vibration and if they so choose, start to match that vibration because now they're being given an opportunity to do so. And that can help alleviate the idea of any distortions by at least providing the option of a clear vibration to others in much the same way that the unconditional love of our civilization is offered to you, but you still have to be the ones to agree to harmonize and match that frequency. Thus, our vibration and our sharing is unconditional. It's up to you to match it. And we would not necessarily have been giving information to you for the last 38 of your years had not some of you at least decided to match it and be living examples of that frequency. That doesn't mean that you have to exactly be like us or do exactly as we do. It simply means that you were willing to let go of all those things that aren't truly you, that are your challenges, your themes of exploration in this particular life to get to know yourself from a new point of view, and have let go of the need now to do that because you are now more willing to be your true self just on its own merit. And thus then you have elevated the frequency of your entire world and given many people more of an opportunity, as you align with any source of unconditional love, to allow themselves to align with those sources as well, whatever they may be, whatever works for them, and increase the likelihood and the probability of more people choosing to navigate themselves through different parallel versions of Earth over and over to ones that are more and more reflective, like a mirror, of the vibrational choices you have made to be in harmony and in alignment with the unconditional love of all that is.
Thank you. If you don't eat chocolate or drink wine, how exactly do you celebrate Valentine's Day on Essassani? And do the hybrids go through adolescent crushes like people on Earth do?
We don't celebrate Valentine's Day on Essassani. That's a holiday on your planet. Our children do not go through teenage crushes. These are not relevant questions for my civilization. We are always in love. We are always harmonious. We are always balanced at this point in our evolution. And we do not have the idea of holidays in the same way you do.
Okay. And in your travels, what is the most number of hearts that you've ever encountered in a single being?
5.
And how does that play out in terms of the expression of the being, or what does that mean? I guess it's different for each civilization, but
yes.
I don't know if there's anything you can share with us about the nature of a civilization where people have 5 hearts.
Yes, although the most common we have ever encountered is 3 hearts. This again is representative of the idea of the triad, the trinary function of all that is, the trinity, so to speak, where the vibrations of the hearts bounce off and reinforce each other in a very particular geometric format. It's very stabilizing in that sense for these particular civilizations that we have encountered, where the beings have what you would consider to be 3 hearts. It doesn't mean that they're hearts in the same way that your heart is structured, but they function similarly. The 5 heart beings perform a very specific kind of function with regard to the heart connections being connected to different aspects of nature or spirit. In other words, each heart serves a function of making a connection to a different aspect of their reality. They can actually switch their focus and their concentration from heart to heart to amplify and magnify their connection to different parts of nature and their particular experience of reality. It's quite unique in our experience.
Amazing. Are there like negative oriented entities in 5th density?
The only level at which you could say that something might in some way be negatively oriented in 5th density is the lower astral realm, where you can have spirits that have unfinished business, may not even know that they're dead, may be harboring and holding on to old belief systems that don't let them to pass on to higher realms of spirit. So you can have that experience in the lower astral realm of non-physical reality, which is 5th density.
Okay, and how do non-physical and quasi-physical beings experience laughter? Do you all laugh? And
Yes, we do. The idea, again, is that it may be experienced as an overwhelming or larger infused sensation that is more expansive than just being contained within the physical parameters of a body. It's like suddenly being filled with light, would perhaps be the closest analogy we can make.
And I think you mentioned if you actually started laughing when you're when Darryl's in the channeling state, that it would wake him up or make him come out of the state?
It would cause a disconnection because the laughter would be centering for us. So as we blend more, as the channel matches our frequency more, there can be some slight opportunities for you to experience us having a laugh. But in general, were we to go fully into that state, there might be a disconnection if the channel's vibration is not equal to the level in which we experience that state.
I see.
So we do, in some sense, allow there to be a slight suppression of that when we are doing this and having this connection, because we often laugh, and therefore you would be constantly having an interruption.
I guess you have to learn how to control that, when you're channeling.
So it's automatic. Because again, it comes with our intention of delivering information in a certain way, and therefore it's automatically dampened to the degree necessary for us to continue the conversation.
And one person asked, why has Darryl's style of channeling Bashar's energy changed over time? It seems like there is less of an accent, less teeth clicking, less affect. Is this because Is this because something has changed about Earth's vibration over time and it's gotten easier to transmit to us here? And why did it originally come through the way that it did?
Yes, it's a matter of practice. It's a matter of getting used to a frequency. It's a matter of becoming his version of us, raising his vibration to become more like us, and therefore there's less difference between us and him. Therefore, you would experience less difference. In the beginning, of course, he wasn't used to our energy at all, and therefore it took some time for him to allow his vibration to rise to the point where you start to lose the differences between us, and we can rely more on the way he exists in his reality to deliver the information in a way that is not filtered, because he is more willing to be open and letting the information come through. And this is part and parcel of the practice of him becoming a teacher himself on his planet, because he is now familiar enough with our principles to be able to do so, knowing that he is delivering relatively accurate information. Because the idea of all channeling is not necessarily for the differences to continue, but for the similarities to become more apparent in your reality, to know that you are just as connected to everything just like we are, and can exhibit that for yourselves. Therefore, you will experience less of a difference. There will be a few things that may remain, so that you understand that there will be a perceived difference on a minor level. But nevertheless, the idea is for fluidity and flow to take over, so that the information can come through, whether from us or from him, to the same degree.
Wonderful.
And the idea of the teeth clicking and other things like that is simply that from time to time, there may be something that we are doing for which there is no translation, and so his body must react to something, and therefore it will be in a non-verbal, non-linguistic fashion that lets you know that something is going on our side that you may not be aware of, that you may not be seeing fully, but the clicking and other affectations may let you know that something is going on that's not being translated fully.
And that's true sometimes when he moves his hands,
Yes.
He's actually mimicking something you're doing on the ship, right?
Yes. If I were now to simply place my hand on a panel, he could ignore it or he could allow himself to go with it, such as this. It just depends on how connected he may be at any given moment in a certain way, whether it's relevant for that expression to be shown, because there are many things we are transmitting to many of you that don't come through verbally. It's also part of the communication that comes through to your unconscious and subconscious self, and representative of a different form and different level of information being downloaded into you to the degree that you are willing to open up to it. So sometimes paying attention to the things that are happening non-verbally can actually be another level of the communication.
Yes, that's true. That's why you said it.
Yeah.
This person's saying they've been longing for contact and they look up at the sky day and night and they wonder if their star family can sense that they want contact. Why isn't it happening? And what do I have to do to connect in with that reality sooner than the rest of humanity?
Stop longing for it and follow the formula. Be where you are. Where you are on Earth is the most important place for you to be. Yes, of course, they're aware of it, but they're also aware of the timing that is necessary that benefits everyone. You can't necessarily run ahead of everyone. That doesn't really serve the purpose you agreed to in having this physical reality. So we understand that the longing is the product of more awareness of the fact that you have connections to many other beings among the stars, but you can't use it as a negative, as if, again, you're missing something. You have to allow yourself to make the connection, be aware of the connection, feel the energy, but bring that energy down to earth and apply it in your life in the most positive, exciting, passionate way. That's what accelerates the probability of having the physical connection sooner than later. But again, drop the insistence and there will be no resistance. Just go with the flow, follow your passion, follow the formula, and allow yourself to experience this as a connection of energy, not a longing, which implies the idea that you're missing something. That something else would be better than where you are now, which it isn't. Where you are now is the most important thing that could be happening.
And haven't you said also that when you're following your passion, when you raise your frequency through letting go of negative beliefs and things like that, ET contact, extra dimensional contact, all those things are a side effect in a sense as your frequency goes up. It's automatic in that regard, right?
It is. But again, watch your belief systems and your definitions. Because sometimes when people hear that, they get excited about doing that only for the purpose of accelerating it, which again brings them back to the idea that they're not living in the moment.
Tricky.
If you say so.
As we move into the window of open contact, will there be a significant increase in new channelers and beings working through them?
Yes.
It's almost like a resurgence of more channeling.
Yes, but in different ways. Again, there are many forms of channeling. So, but the general answer is yes.
Okay. And is there an alien civilization whose political system is a dictatorship?
Yes, of course. Those things exist, and we have discussed some that existed in what you call the past in the ancient Orion systems, which were extremely oppressive and dictatorial. And there are some that still exist out among the stars. It's not like they can basically reach you or affect you in any given way. But yes, they do exist here and there.
Okay. And if the Greys couldn't reproduce, then how exactly did their form mutate over time while they were still underground?
Genetic engineering.
Oh.
They had to genetically engineer themselves to adapt to the changing environment.
And do a lot of other civilizations that you've encountered also work on the principle of synchronism like the Sasani beings do?
Quite a few do, especially those that are really part of our interstellar alliance. It's really the currency of our alliance.
And so, who in your reality, or how did your civilization discover that we change realities billions of times per second?
Well, this is really quite obvious when you start thinking about what it is your own scientists are looking for. They're looking for an idea called the unified theory of everything, where they understand that everything is an expression of the same one basic fundamental thing. But if you take that a little further, you have to understand that if you're going to reduce everything down to something that is an expression of one thing, well, you have to include space and time as well as forces and other attributes of physical reality. By reducing space to its simplest form, it reduces down to a single dimensionless point. By reducing time down to its simplest form, you reduce it down to a single timeless moment. If you understand that everything is one thing, and therefore even space and time are reduced to their simplest components, then the experience itself of being capable of experiencing what appears to be vast space and vast amounts of time must be a projection that all exists at the same time, and therefore you logically conclude that what appears to be different locations and what appears to be different moments must all inhabit the same now moment and the same now point. And therefore, by definition, the experience of space and time in your reality demands the existence of parallelism, because all of these so-called separate moments and all of these so-called separate places and locations existing simultaneously, quote-unquote, side by side, so to speak, demands the existence of parallelism and parallel realities. Otherwise, you couldn't experience it in the way that you do. So if everything is truly one thing and happening all at once, so to speak, then the only way that can actually exist and give you the experience you have in physical reality is for there to have everything happening in parallel. So once we realized as a civilization that everything was truly one thing, for us, the conclusion was logical that there must be parallel realities. And from there, we were able to formulate the idea of what for each reality might be the tick of the clock and the rate at which you may pass through these different realities to create the illusion of space and time and change. It was a natural extension of the understanding that everything exists at the same time and in the same place.
Thank you.
Yes.
This question is, why do black holes usually lie at the heart of galaxies? Are they really just supermassive black holes, or do they have an element of higher intelligence?
And why does that have to be mutually exclusive? It can be a black hole and have higher intelligence. So the idea is that they form the anchor point, the seed, the core, the kernel of the galaxies. They create the template, vibrationally, gravitationally, the grid on which galaxies are born, so to speak, are placed, come into existence. They are the initial blueprint of the idea of the formation of a galaxy. Now, there are some exceptions. We're not going to go into that right now. But fundamentally, for the most part, supermassive black holes, which do exhibit a type of intelligence, carry information in a way that lays out the template for the galaxies that they wind up at the core of.
Okay. And there was a question about Sasquatch and why we never find the remains of Sasquatch physically here on Earth.
Yes. As we have said, Sasquatch can go into other dimensions, other levels of reality, parallel worlds, and so on and so forth. The Sasquatch in general, though there are some differences in how they do this, have a particular level of reality, a particular place that they go to where many rituals are performed, including the idea of the rituals of honoring their dead. Their bodies are simply not left behind. They are taken to that slightly altered physical reality, slightly altered dimension of experience that's still quite physical, but doesn't really contain any other life. And therefore, they deposit their dead bodies there and perform the rituals there that honor them.
It's really interesting.
Yes. They have a whole culture you know nothing about, whole places they experience you know nothing about.
Wow, it's just, and that was our natural evolutionary path to become more like that.
It is what you would have become had you not been altered by alien genetics, yes.
So, as you know, we've had some pretty momentous things happening here on the planet right now, and it's a great concern to a lot of people, of course. And so the one question is, why did Putin invade Ukraine?
All right. I'm going to make a connection in order to give you the information that we are allowed to give you. This connection is to what might euphemistically be referred to as the Interstellar Alliance Council. So I will be speaking on their behalf as well as on the behalf of myself. One moment. At this moment, the being known as Vladimir Putin is the most frightened and weakest person on your planet at this moment. Exhibiting the idea of weakness, exhibiting the ideas of fear, exhibiting the idea of loss of control and fear attached to that concept. Using force, using weapons, using coercion, using lies does not make one powerful. The use of such things is an indication that the person using them or the people thereof fear that they are weak and powerless. For they do not believe that their ideologies and their perspectives are powerful enough to draw and attract those to them without coercion, without force, without weapons, without lies. Therefore, they do not really believe in the power of their own ideology. They fear that they are weak. They fear that they are powerless. And they strike out and attack for the purpose of covering up and denying their belief in their own weakness and their own lack of self-empowerment. The idea on your planet is that from our civilizations, there are no soldiers, there are no police forces. This does not mean that you should abandon them or dismantle them. But in our reality, such beings take on more of the idea that you refer to as first responders, rescue operations, those that benefit the masses by coming in when and where they are needed to aid and assist and be of value in uplifting the civilization. Therefore, we lay out for you at this time, as an honorary member of the Interstellar Alliance, the notion and the practice and the actions necessary for these incidents to no longer occur. You have to have what you call your military and police forces, where each and every individual understands how life works and has an ethical and moral center on an individual basis, rather than following orders in a slavish way. They would respond to any such being as a dictator that is operating in a negative, coercive, lying, forceful way with a no. We will not follow you because it is outside the alignment of our moral and ethical centers in our connection to all that is. Such beings would be an aberration on your planet and would be immediately removed into a program of correction and therapy to allow them to learn to connect to their own self-empowerment, their own spiritual center and expression of all that is, rather than being left, as you would say, in charge. When you can, create programs that instill this universal ethical and moral center, a sense of connection to spirit, and expression and actions that are in alignment with who you truly are as powerful beings, and honoring and owning your own true power, it will no longer be necessary to have soldiers that follow orders slavishly. It will no longer be necessary to have a police force that must enforce the law, but simply act as those that guide, nurture, uplift, remind, in the same way that we have the organizational bodies in our alliance that amplify and magnify the concept of organization, the concept of awareness, the concept of stability, the concept of fluidity, the concept of adaptability, and the concepts of strengthening and magnifying everyone's individual self-empowerment in a way that functions harmoniously throughout the whole. You must think in terms of whole systems, rather than components that you struggle to piece together. In this way, when there are no longer those that simply slavishly follow orders, but each having their own ethical and moral center, will such actions as you are now experiencing on your planet no longer be possible. You must allow yourself, if you wish, to create programs, to teach, to educate, to help each individual find their self-empowerment and align to the idea of what you call the positive side of their ethical and moral experience in life, to connect back to their awareness of all that is, so that they will no longer support individuals who force, who coerce, who lie. The idea, therefore, is that this program must be started on your planet for you to truly achieve what can be achieved in your connection to our Interstellar Alliance as a full-fledged member. Through the window of open contact, it would be wise if you would accelerate these programs in such a way, create these programs and act on them in such a way that you can allow each to feel their own true self-empowerment and move forward as a collective whole, a collection of absolute individuals who are each empowered to be their unique selves with their unique connection to all that is, no longer slavishly following orders for those who fear that they are powerless, who fear others, who fear loss, who fear disconnection, who fear they are weak. For again, weapons do not make you powerful. They are a statement that you feel and believe you are powerless to attract what you need in life without them. Let that be the anthem of your world. We thank you. Will that have answered your question?
Yes, thank you. There was a follow-up question also, which was, will the ETs prevent full-scale nuclear war, and how can they do that?
As we have said many times, there have been many demonstrations given over the military bases on your planet that harbor nuclear missiles, where our crafts have, by hovering over and extending their electromagnetic beams, shut down the launch codes, erased the launch codes, scrambled the launch codes to demonstrate that while it might still be possible for there to be a limited nuclear strike, a small one somewhere on your world, the idea of global thermonuclear war would rip through the fabric of dimensions to other realities, and this you are not allowed to do. So this will be prevented on a larger scale, even though smaller scales that will not have that effect interdimensionally can still be allowed, because you still have to make up your own minds about what you wish to experience on your world. But the larger expression of it, yes, is not allowed and will be prevented.
That's good to hear. And we appreciate that. And we appreciate everything that you've shared. Thank you so much, Bashar, from me and from all of our listeners. We really appreciate you and love you.
Our unconditional love to you all is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you in this way. And now, please allow yourselves to enjoy the idea of your heartfelt meditation. And now, please allow yourselves to relax for your meditation experience. Breathe deeply, and in this case, allow yourselves to relax to the point where you can focus on your heartbeat, because this is all about the heart, matters of the heart, and the heart of the matter. The idea is to breathe, be at ease, and feel the energy. Whether you have a visualization or music, doesn't matter. Use it all to go to the center of your heart. And with each beat, allow yourself to visualize that you are literally sending out an electromagnetic bubble of energy around the world, and that it is incorporated with the electromagnetic field of your planet, while at the same time immersing every other being in your heart bubble as they immerse you in their heart bubbles, as you are all together immersed in the bubble, the heart bubble of the world, of Gaia, of nature, of the beauty, of the love, of the peace and the joy. That is the liquid in which you swim, the essence of your being, the expression of your truth. And see the vibrations with every heartbeat expanding outward into the star, to let people know through the amplification and magnification of the electromagnetic field of your planet who you are, who you prefer to be, that your love is sent to all, and that you are willing to receive the love of all in your reality to help guide you back into the understanding of your truth, the breathing together of all, the experiencing of the unconditional love of the all that is your birthright and your gift for all eternity, in the now, the eternal now. Feel your heart beating in that eternal now. Feel the embrace, the warm, supportive embrace and encouragement of all that is, to let your heart beat true for you, and allow yourself to rejoice with every beat in your life, your experiences, your love and your lessons, so that you may grow and expand and rejoice in the infinite and eternal beauty of all the experiences that are possible and probable within your reality and within all that is, created and existing out of the unconditional love of existence itself. that you become aware of yourself more and more as you extend your senses out. And keep breathing, and in that breath out, sending all the information and all the messages and all the love that you can. And with every breath in, taking in all the messages and all of the love, all of the energy that you can from what you are receiving from your spirit guides, from extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional beings, from all that is, and all parallel realities that are relevant for you. And with every beat of your heart, in and out, incorporating those things and reflecting back to the universe what you have learned and who you are and who you have deigned to be and who you have defined yourself to be. But always open and flexible to receive new information, new guidance, new opportunities, new probabilities that will expand you even further. And though you may feel sometimes, when you allow yourself to fill up with all of this unconditional love, that you may feel you're going to burst, allow yourself to burst into an explosion of light, knowing that that's who you really are. An explosion of love, an explosion of light, an explosion and an expression and a spark of the greater light of all that is. And that you are that greater light, expressing itself in a reflection as a spark. And that unconditional love given to you is given back, so that you may be supported by the whole, even as you are experiencing yourself as an individual. A perfect reflection on a smaller scale of all that is. Having its own experiences, its own challenges, its own processes, its own lessons, its own life. The beauty of that life, the artistry of that life, coming from the heart, with every beat, with every breath, with every waking moment, and every moment of awareness. Allow yourself to breathe, and let your heart beat, strong and true, strong and pure, strong and alive. Breathe it in, breathe it out. Let the world be contained within you, and you contained within the world. Let the universe be contained within you, and you contained within the universe. Let all that is be contained within you, and you contained within all that is. For both are true, and both are real, and both are here. Breathe it in and feel the love, the support and the encouragement to be yourself more and more, every day, in every way, with every beat of your heart. Be in love, be in joy, and be in peace. Our unconditional love to you all. Sweet dreams, good day. And we will connect with you again in a new night.